FMWBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Let's go. I want to get rid of some fun stuff in the news before we get to. I feel like the bulk of this show is going to be taken up by a very disturbing story in today's edition of News from Bugtussle. But let's go to the more important, broader news first. Donald Trump was on Mark Levin's show last night. You heard it right here live on WBAP. I told you about it when I was ending the show yesterday. I was like, hey, Donald Trump's coming on in about 5 minutes. So just keep it right here. Well, I know you're a creature of habit and maybe you missed it. So let's go ahead and review what I think are some of the high points of what was discussed just on this station right after the James show yesterday. Donald Trump on Mark Levin. I got it distilled down into 3 clips here.
I love stopping the wars. I thought, though, that this one, because I actually had a good relationship with President Putin the first term, and despite the fact that we had Russia, don't forget, that's not easy to overcome when he sees these whack jobs. And he knew it was false because he wasn't involved. Not to say he's an angel, by the way. He knew it was all a made-up thing, and, he probably thought we were totally crazy, this country. And we were. It was a very corrupt, bad situation, and actually put us in danger.
Right, and that's interesting from the point of view of Putin. Imagine you're Putin. You're over there, and you didn't interfere in the election in 2016, and you all of a sudden get credit for it. Hey, Donald Trump got elected, and it's all Putin's fault. Oh, really? What did I do? That's kind of cool. And there's a couple of other, like, now that we know, now that it's hard to argue that Trump did not collude with Russia to steal the 2016 election. I mean, that's all done. Do you remember in Helsinki, Finland, when Donald Trump and Putin were at some outdoor press conference? They had a meeting there, and Putin was at one podium and Trump was at the other podium, and the someone had leaked from the intelligence community. Remember when all the leaks were happening? Someone had leaked something about Trump definitely colluded with Putin. That's for damn sure. And so they asked Trump about it, and then they asked Putin about it. And Putin's like, no, I don't know what they're talking about. And so when they asked Trump about it, they said, so do you believe your own intelligence agencies, or do you believe Putin? And he's like, well, in this one, I don't know. I think I'm closer to Putin on this one. And that was the biggest deal in the world. I was like, oh, my God, he's siding with Putin over his own CIA or whatever the leaker was from. Turns out that he was right, and Putin was right. Well, Putin was right compared to the leaking from the CIA and the headlines that dominated in 2017, 2018, 2019. So that's always got to be remembered. Whenever Putin comes up in these situations, he is a bad guy, terrible fella. The world would be better off if he would just calm down and stop invading neighboring territories. But who's worse? The leaker that was lying about him? Isn't that weird? Another clip last night where Mark Levin asked President Trump about the meeting between Putin and how it compared to the meeting against Zelensky.
I had a very successful meeting with President Putin. I had a very successful meeting with President Zelensky, and now I thought it would be better if they met without me, just to see. I want to see what goes on. They had a hard relationship, very bad relationship, and now we'll see how they do. And if necessary, and it probably would be, but if necessary, I'll go and I'll probably be able to get it closed. I just want to see what happens at the meeting. So they're in the process of setting it up, and we're going to see what happens. But you got to stop the killing. There's too much killing. I don't care. You don't have to be, again, nobody from America is being killed. We're not being killed. The United States soldiers aren't involved. We have no boots on the ground. But when you lose 6,000, 5,000, 7,000 young people, and then you also lose some people from the towns and cities as missiles get lobbed into them.
Yeah, and the reason it's important for you to hear this, you probably intuitively knew that that's what's on his mind, is this is what people are arguing against. Why are you arguing against? Like, even if you had criticism of Trump, even if you dislike Trump and you didn't want him to be in office, you could at least counter criticism with, like, I agree with him that we need peace immediately. I just don't like, I don't know, the red carpet or the way he's going about it or whatever. But they're not even really conceding, like, hey, he's on the right track, or I agree with him in spirit. I just wish he would do something different. Now he's still just literally Hitler. One more clip from the excellent interview between Donald Trump on Mark Levin you heard on WBAP last night?
They took the whole thing, the way I look at it, if I didn't come along, they took the whole thing under Biden. They took Crimea under Obama, and they took a big chunk of Georgia under Bush. With me, what was taken? Nothing was taken. I came in, this thing was raging. I think it was heading to World War III. And you're not going to have that anymore. That's the nice part. You're not going to have to worry about that. But we'll see what happens in terms of getting it settled. But this was heading to World War III. This is the worst thing that's happened in terms of war. These are the biggest numbers that we've had since World War II.
All right. So the context he put that in, I want you to remember this going forward, because we're going to have an interesting experiment here for the next 3.5 years. Because what he did bring up is kind of an interesting point that was brought up when this whole invasion happened in Ukraine. There's a strange behavior pattern ever since Putin came to power. He took land under George Bush. He took it from Georgia. He mentioned there, you probably remember, because this is the only time it was ever in the news, the provinces of South Ossetia and Abkhazia. If you're new to talk radio, that's worth a Google. And then he took time off. Or then he took the Crimea under Obama. Then he took time off under Trump's first term. Didn't take any land. Trump gets out, Biden comes in, he takes a couple of provinces in eastern Ukraine. Is he going to go another 4 years? Is he going to go the second Trump 2.0 here without taking any land again? Because that would be strange. It would be like, okay, so he took some land under Bush, under Obama, he stopped for Trump, he took some land under Biden, then he stopped for Trump again. Man, what's coming after that? So I think that was your big three takeaways from the Donald Trump interview on Mark Levin last night. Coming up next on the James Show, the Texas House finally back in session, but I'm really not too optimistic about getting anything done. Maybe besides the maps. We'll talk about that next on the James Show. News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Well, hey there. Welcome to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 93.3 FM. WBAP. Well, they're back to business in the Texas House of Representatives. We should be getting some votes happening. We should be getting some results before the end of the week. In fact, I believe we're reaching out to my good buddy Brian Harrison to come back on the James Show to give us another terrible update on how bad things are going. I know. I hate it too. I mean, we like Brian Harrison, the person, but every single one of his updates has just been dismal. Absolutely dismal when it comes to your business, your priorities, the will of the voters not being done in the Texas State House. And keep this in mind next time you get accused of, it's a threat to democracy. Well, what's more of a threat to democracy than the elected representatives going to Austin and not doing what the people said? If you are the citizens of a country, your voice is supposed to be heard through the voting system. That's the whole point of democracy. That's what they claim to be concerned about. But when the people, an overwhelming majority of voters, want something to be done and the representatives don't do it, wouldn't that count as someone thwarting democracy? And so if democracy is being thwarted, who's thwarting it? Well, in Texas, it would be Team Blue. It would be the people who ran. It'd be the people who still get no school choice or no significant property tax cuts. It'd be the people who maintain the status quo when it comes to some of these other issues, especially cultural. So there's a little bit of optimism here. I don't want to be completely negative because, number one, this isn't a show where I get mad and yell at you and whatever. And plus, I'm not that negative of a guy. Plus, we still live in Texas, which is the greatest state and the greatest country the world has ever known. But with all of those qualifiers on it, do not get too excited about the will of the voters being done in Texas. It's so much easier if you're a politician, especially if you're a fake politician. And we almost use that term backwards. When we talk about a fake politician, that implies that it's one of the guys that says one thing on the campaign trail but does something else when he gets in a seat of power. But that's not what a fake politician does. That's what a normal politician does. If the majority of the politicians behave that way, the fake politicians would be more like a Donald Trump or a Brian Harrison or one of these guys that gets in and doesn't act like the rest of them. He doesn't get all the money. He doesn't get all the connections. He doesn't have what's the APAC or whatever that has a lobbyist fall around everybody in the House of Representatives except Thomas Massey. So let's go ahead and remember that this isn't abnormal behavior. Not for a politician. Oh no, this is normal. The job of the politicians is to go out and tell you what you want to hear in order to get your vote. And then he goes to Austin. And look, unless you're just an angel, we're all susceptible to these temptations. Because what's best for you and your family may not line up with what the voters sent you down to Austin for. And so what if you don't take a stand on school choice or real school choice? It wasn't going to pass anyway. So while you're down there, you might as well get a few grand, help put your kids through college or maybe your grandkids through college or whatever you need to tell yourself to just put the moral salve on the guilt of being a grifter. But that's the norm. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Now, let me point out a couple of bullet points that I've said before, but we need to remember this throughout all of these special sessions. We need to remember this through the primaries next year. Number one, we did not see a single Democrat who ran, who abandoned their post, who fled the state, who, to what? To stop democracy? None of them were arrested. None of them are facing charges. None of them removed from their seats. None of them even lost their parking pass. We still, important bullet point number 2, we haven't seen a law proposed aimed at preventing this stunt in the future. You don't even have to vote on it for yourself. Just see if you can get a referendum passed. And maybe the next time we all go to the ballot, we'll vote on another amendment to the Texas Constitution, which has have you ever noticed how the American Constitution, 28 amendments, Texas Constitution, 3,000 amendments. I mean, it's not that high, but it's in the hundreds. Let's just throw another one on there. If you leave in order to avoid a quorum, in order to thwart a vote that you know you'll lose, you lose your seat. Anyone proposing that? I had 2 callers call in and tell me that yesterday. And the response is, thank you. Yeah, we all thought of that. We're all thinking that right now, and it's still not being done. So whose fault is that? Not you, the average Republican voter or the average listener, conservative listener, WBAP, or if you're an independent or liberal, whatever. It's not you. You don't expect the Democrats to do this to themselves. The people who are supposed to be doing this, the quite obvious solution to prevent this theater from happening again, is not being done, and it's in the control of the leadership of the Republicans in the Texas House of Representatives and Senate. So find out who these guys are, primary them, get them out. Do not forget this when primary season rolls around, please. So we also know the second that the votes start happening and things start getting passed, another thing that you have suspected will be confirmed, and you should not be happy about it. Both sides have just been play acting for media attention. Both sides knew not a damn thing was going to change with this stunt. The Democrats knew that they could run, not be charged with a crime, not lose the seat, not lose any of the reins of power, which is all they really care about. Republicans knew if they just let them go throw their hissy fit and say some mean things in the headlines and slander you, that they'll come back and they'll get their votes anyway. And it doesn't matter. They weren't really going to give you school choice. They weren't really going to give you property tax cuts. The only thing they're really stuck on is this map, and that's because it increases the power of who? You, the voter? No, the Republican Party. They're both in on it. It's one big club, and you ain't in it. Hey, don't feel bad. I'm not in it either. But I'm going to talk to everyone and hope a couple people actually let this sink in. In the next segment, you and I need to have a little chat about you running for office. Oh, James, I can't run for office. No. I want you to listen to me. Maybe you think you can or you shouldn't, or it'd be a waste of your time. But just open your mind, bring down your walls, be a little vulnerable. And then the next segment, I want to talk to you about running for office. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP.
impact to my voters will be on splitting apart communities of color that have historically been together. Congressional District 29 is a long-standing Latino majority district in Harris County. This district was created after the 1990 census as mandated by the Voting Rights Act, Section 2. The two anchors of this district are the north side in my area and the east end in East Harris County. Historic Mexican American and Hispanic neighborhoods in Houston, where many of our grandfathers, our abuelitos, abuelitas, tíos, and tías settled in the early parts of the 19th and 20th century. These areas are now being ripped apart. They're being ripped apart, members. So communities like Melrose Park, Lindell Park, Northline, Jensen Drive on the north side, which have always been connected communities on the east end side, communities like Second Ward, Denver Harbor, Manchester, Magnolia Park, Pecan Park, communities like Aldine, Green Ridge North, Imperial Valley, Green Forest, High Meadows, Lydiard on the north side also have historically been connected to areas like Galena Park, Jacinto City, Pasadena, and East Harris County along the channel. But look, members, what's comical about this, I doubt the author of the bill and the author of this map even know where these neighborhoods are. But they are clear communities of interest that have always voted together since the inception and the creation of this district.
You said you didn't let me finish. You want to be fair, let me finish. You always just say this to the chamber. A chamber, I want to. It's red hot. Time to clear the lot.
The deals are bigger at the Big Chevy Store.
For my voters, members, I'm angry.
To 18 days. You left 17 to 18 days. You could have sat with me.
Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. You know, maybe you should run for office. If you need any more inspiration, you should just go and look at what's happening in the halls of power at pretty much any level in your world right now. We have the Texas House. They're going to vote on the map. They may vote today during the James Show. In fact, I've got another screen up here. And I've been watching these goobers, and the more you watch this, spend some time watching these goobers, and you'll think, oh, I can do that. I never really thought like I'm a dumb man Never really thought, well, I'm an idiot. There's no way I should be in Congress. But I did think, people who run for Congress, people who, take the reins of power should be a little more thought-provoking than me. I like football. I like drinking beer. I like hot chicks. I like rock and roll music. And, I'm just a regular old dude. Certainly there's some guy out there who aced all his tests, who was like the valedictorian of his class. Some guy who actually does crazy things like gets their oil changed every 3,000 miles or makes their bed when they wake up or never leaves dishes in the sink. These kind of perfect people. I have a nephew like that. He should run for office. But if you've ever had any inkling about running for office, you probably should. If you've never thought about it, you should at least think about it. Let me give you a taste of what I'm talking about. This is what's going on in Austin right now over the maps. This is Barbara Gervin Hawkins, great, a hyphenated name, Texas State Representative, arguing with some other guy I don't know.
Public hearing in Houston, correct?
That's Saturday, yes.
And on July 28th, there was a hearing in Arlington, Texas, correct?
That evening in Arlington.
Okay, when did the maps drop?
I believe the maps were filed Wednesday.
So Wednesday, and then you had a hearing the next day with people who could not weigh in on a yay or a nay. It's my understanding those maps were not released until after the public hearings. Is that true or false?
You're wrong because the hearing was Friday, not Thursday.
We had several hearings before the maps were dropped. Would you agree with that?
Ma'am, you just said the map was dropped and then we heard it. The fact is, it was filed that Wednesday. The hearing was Friday. Let's get the specifics. And I've answered everything to you in committee that I'm answering here. Tuesday, after the Arlington hearing, the chairman of the committee asked me if I would present.
Oh, I can't listen to this anymore. This is like listening to my children bicker. No, I didn't. You rode in front. You rode in front on the way home yesterday, and then on the way to school, it was her. So it's my turn this time. That's what this sounds like to me. It sounds like my kids arguing over who gets to ride in front. Oh my God! Can we? As if the public hearing had been like 2 days earlier, she'd be like, oh, okay, well, I'm okay with this map then. No, you don't like the map. I get it. Period, point blank, in the story. Let's stop trying to find little knick-knacky paperwork crimes here in order for you to get your way. You're going to lose the damn vote. You already got to throw your hissy fit. You already got all kinds of good headlines. You can do whatever you want, and the media's still going to call me Hitler, so stop griping. Just dropped at that time, correct? See, run for office.
Get spreadsheets.
You can do better than this. You. Someone's out there saying, I don't know, man. I'm kind of a big loser. He's definitely not talking to me. No, run. Listen, one thing I have done being in talk radio, it's not just here in Dallas. It's been in pretty much every market I've worked in. You get invited by political types. Hey, come to our little event. We're having a fundraiser or we're having some other like a fun run or something. And they often have these little times where you get to meet the candidates. And man, some of these candidates are just mouth breathers. Republicans, Democrats, both out of both sides. Because the decent people don't want to run. If you have something going on, if you have a successful business and an awesome family and stuff, you wouldn't want to risk that to go into politics. You know who does run? The people who are either so narcissistic they think they should be in charge and they love to make everyone listen to them and do what they want to do. These people were hall monitors when you were children. That's who's drawn to this. Narcissists, people who crave power, or people who are too dumb to know that they shouldn't be running. I know you think it's fun to be a congressman. You want to be famous. You want people to pay attention to you. That doesn't mean you're going to be the best person to represent us when it comes to statecraft. Al and Azel, why don't you run for office?
I am thinking about it, except I don't think they'd like me down there because I'm going to call out all the, I'd have to bleep it out, the people I think is wrong. In fact, I'm a Louisiana transplant from here. I've been here for 4 years, and I love Texas, I love Louisiana, and I love John Kennedy from Louisiana because he tells it like it is. Now, another question: How could I con George Soros into funding me to run for Congress?
Run as a Democrat. Run as a Democrat. Just go to their meetings, say the right things. And this is something that's come up like 5 times just this week on the James Show. Is the Dan Bongino rule? Is there are Democrats who pretend to be Republicans, but there's no such thing as Republicans who pretend to be Democrats. Maybe you should try that, Al.
I got told by a professor one time that if I ever run for political office, I'm a graduate from LSU. If I ever run
sorry about that.
I would get assassanated.
Oh, I would definitely get assassinated. I want to end all programs. I want to end all regulations on, well, not all regulations, but most of like the FDA and the USDA. I want to get rid of public housing. I want to get rid of food stamps. I want to get rid of welfare, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. No, I wouldn't make it past the primary. I probably wouldn't make it out of the building today if anyone thought I was going to win. But yeah, run for office. In fact, if you don't believe me, go to some of these, find whatever side, team red or team blue, run for office, go to some of these, or join your little local party, go to a precinct event, go to some county level events, go to one of these places that has a meet the candidates, and meet the candidates, and you'll be like, oh yeah, I should probably be running for office. And then come back and on the James Show call in and be like, man, you did this show back in 2025 saying run for office. I was like, what the heck? I ran for office. And now here I am. I want to hear that story. Okay? So go get on it. Go be successful. Coming up next on the James Show. A few businesses are already raising prices. They say this is over tariffs. Find out if you'll be paying more next on the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
Who we memorialized and her body lied in state. She was a transformational legislator from this body. She was preceded by Congressman Jabson Crockett, our own colleague, former colleague. Now that seat is being, Congresswoman Crockett was removed from her district into the 33rd to pit her against our former colleague, Congressman Mark Vesey. So we should be increasing African-American representation by 50%, but unfortunately, this racial gerrymandered map reduces it by 50%. And I don't know, I feel like Fannie Lou Hamer when she said she was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm sick and tired of seeing more attacks on African Americans in this state that has more African Americans than any other state. I'm sick and tired of seeing more attacks on our Hispanic brothers and sisters because this map doesn't just disenfranchise African Americans, but also our Latino brothers and sisters. I'm sick and tired of this attacks on black and brown with this anti-diversity, equity, and inclusion. I'm sick and tired of us not want to talk about it because we implemented critical race theory, so we don't even teach about it anymore. So I feel the pain of our ancestors who thought they had overcome many of the barriers of the past, that we shouldn't have to relitigate these issues in 2025. Thank God we have the Voting Rights Act of 1965, and this House Bill 4 violates that. It's unconstitutional, and it more than likely will be struck down. But in the meantime, many people, including my constituents that are currently in the 9th Congressional District, are going to be disenfranchised. So I know, as a man of faith, I believe that the higher power, and I believe that Barbara Jordan would be turning over in her grave to see what we're doing in this body. I believe that Sheila Jackson Lee and Mayor Congressman Sylvester Turner will be turning over in their grave to see what we're doing in this body. And I know many of you probably are like, well, this is just something we have to do. People elect us to be statesmen, to put people before politics. And this racial gerrymander is going to disenfranchise and impact people, specifically people of color, packing and cracking communities of interest to disenfranchise them so they don't have the ability to elect a candidate of their choice. And so I rise today in opposition of this racial gerrymandered map and ask you to be on the right side of history and reject this notion
this Texas takeover and do what's best for the citizens of this state. Not President Trump, not anybody else, the citizens of this state. They are the ones that are watching. And you may not realize this today, but just like the people that were on the wrong side of history back in 1965, history will be looking at the decisions that is made in this body today. And I want to challenge you, when you look in the mirror, where were you? Were you on the right side of history in favor of voting rights for all? Or were you on the wrong side of history where you're upholding discrimination with this racial gerrymandered map? So I strongly urge you to do the right thing and protect the rights of the vulnerable that's found in Proverbs 31:8-9. And I'll close with this. It says to speak out for the one who cannot speak, for the rights of those who are doomed. Speak out, judge fairly, and defend the rights of oppressed and needy people.
Ms. Garcia of Dallas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, under the current map, CD 32 is a coalition district. When white, Black, Hispanic, and Asian communities come together and make up nearly 68% of the population, and nearly 64% of the voting age population. Black and Hispanic voters alone account for over 52% of the voting age population.
Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am keeping one eye on the Texas State House of Representatives, another eye on the monitor here at the mothership of WBAP, because the headlines are on MSNBC more than they're on Fox today. Texas House reporting on, or to vote on redistricting map imminently is the report we got. All right. So, well, if that pops up during the James Show, I'll let you know what the result is. But my next guest is going to come in and talk about all the higher prices that you've been paying. One of the big ones, school supplies seem to tick up just a little bit. I feel like I paid more this year. But Michelle Schultz coming back on from Schultz Trade Law. And how much of this is tariff related versus how much of this is just good old fashioned inflation, Michelle? So what countries are in the clear? If you're getting your supplies or your inputs from some countries, you can already stop worrying. Do we have like a list of which ones are clear? Well, let's talk about the exceptions. I don't hear a lot about those in the news. Are those pretty hard to get? Do you have to be politically connected, or is it just a matter of paperwork? Okay. So, what is the new deadlines here? They keep getting pushed back, and I think China got another 30-day or 90-day reprieve. What's the latest, if you know that off the top of your head, Michelle? So, Michelle Schultz, you work in trade law. Have you seen a lot of people resource their inputs based on this? All right, Michelle Schultz, Schultz Trade Law. If someone needs your help, how do they get in touch with you? How many times have you said that? Yeah, it is SCHULZ. There is no T. The T is in trade. Love it. Well done. Michelle Schultz, Schultz Trade Law. Thank you for your insight. Coming up next on the James Show, there's a hot story here in North Texas about the Dallas mayor taking a luxury vacation to Africa, and the taxpayers got paid for, had to pay for it. And look, generally speaking, I don't agree with what he did, but I'm really not going to lose any sleep over it. And if you listen to the next segment, it'll probably calm you down a little bit as well. Also, I have an eye over here on what's happening in the Texas House of Representatives. We are being told that they're considering voting on the redistricting map, and that might happen during the James Show. So if it does, I'll be sure to just pop over there when it does happen. Who is this? It's just some lady talking on the floor. Yeah. I've got an eye on them. If it happens, you'll hear it here first on the James Show. Stay put. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP.
Instead, this map cracks Latino voters apart, dismantles CD29, and distorts CD9, all to weaken the communities of color that are the backbone of our economy and our democracy. Members, HB4 is not about fair representation. It is about silencing the voices of Latino voters, my family, my friends, my neighbors. It is about stripping away opportunity districts that were hard-won and protected under the Voting Rights Act. This is not only wrong, it is unconstitutional. I urge you to reject HB4. Protect the rights of every Texan to have their voice heard. Protect the communities who built Harris County and keep it strong. And protect the integrity of our democracy, which demands fair maps and equal representation for all. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Ms. Perez.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I have lived in CD 29 all the days of my life, and with the passage of this map, it will move me to CD 9. With these redistricted maps, voter disenfranchisement will undoubtedly be worse in many communities like mine. Based on data from the 2020 census, Latino voters make up about 43.4% of the people in Harris County, Texas. The Hispanic population has been the largest ethnic group in Harris County since 2010. In fact, in Houston, over 38% of Houstonians aged 5 years and older speak Spanish at home. This is the case for many of my constituents. My community deserves fair representation. Representatives who share their values, understand their culture, and are able to communicate in their first language. Representatives who truly understand the struggles that Hispanic communities face. The Hispanic population is already underrepresented. These maps further affect our representation. Additionally, based on 2020 census data, Black or African American residents make up 18.7% of the total population of Harris County. Those two groups, when combined, make up the clear majority. Despite making up the clear majority in Houston, where I live, and in this state, our voters' voices are diluted. Our communities certainly deserve to have their voices heard. I urge you to join me in voting no on this bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Ms. Groban Hawkins.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members and people in the gallery. Today represents something new and different as it relates to, as state representatives, how we must see ourselves moving forward. I would ask each member in this body to understand this. When I ran for election, I ran to be able to help improve Texas. And I know some people think this may be a game, and it's funny. But the reality is this. Texas needs brave men and women. Texas needs transparency, which means engaging the community. Texas needs its members to respect and show how honored they should be a part of this body. What was interesting to me as I had my dialogue with Chairman Hunter was he focused a lot on why Democrats left to not create a quorum. I want to be clear. I want each and every one of you to understand. We didn't run from anything. We ran to the public because what we felt has truly been an injustice and is being an injustice. And I'll tell you why it was an injustice. We didn't act as Texans to be able to change the dynamics of our community. There was a letter that came through. A letter. Mr. Speaker, I hope in the future that we're not moved by outside influence. That we indeed move in a way that makes sure that Texans sets the agenda and no one else. When I think about these maps, and I have asked on a number of occasions, who drew these maps? No one can tell, or at least they have not revealed who drew these maps. And I know that's a bald-faced lie. So when one comes from the outside to steal what's precious in Texas, that's hurtful. I asked again, where are our brave Texans? But I would caution each and every one of you, be careful. Be careful about the actions you're taking, because indeed it not only impacts us, but it impacts our children and our children's children, the things that we do today. If DC has asked for something, we must ask ourselves, what's next? What's next of interference? For me, this body has changed. It has created an atmosphere of division, an atmosphere of disgust, an atmosphere when I now look at my colleagues and say, wow, who are you really? You know, when I had my medical episode, I was so moved by the members who came to pray and gave me well wishes. And as you know, each and every day we come, we pray together. We pray together. We give honor to the U.S. flag and the Texas flag. because we know the value of what we do here. But when that changes, not because we disagree, not because we have different positions, that changes when I see professionals that will support something that they know is wrong, but because they want to either hold on to a seat or they're fearful of the unknown. I would say to my colleagues, what's so hurtful is when my colleagues can look me in the face and look other members in the face and be willing to take away 2 African American seats. As you all know, the struggle, particularly for African Americans, have been long and hard. When we looked at a situation where the floods came, so many people died, some of which I even knew. And we put this as a priority before putting that first. That tells us all something about this body. Mr. Speaker, we need to change that. We need to be able to address those priorities first. It should have been number 1 on the agenda, but it wasn't, and that was disheartening. So I say to my colleagues today, get brave. Understand our real work here. It's not a game. It's not a plaything. We've been blessed to be 1 of 150, to be able to improve the quality of life for all Texans. And we have to come together and understand what that looks like so we create the win-win, not the winners and losers. That's the Texas I would love to be a part of. It was also hurtful with the social media. It was really childish more than anything. Lock them up, go get them, they running, all that kind of nonsense. And I think we're too important and we've got a job that's too big to go down that rabbit hole. So for today, I have mixed feelings about this body. And I hope that we can become a better body, not one that seeks to hurt others, to create cultural wars, to demean different positions, but indeed that we can work together to respect the positions that we hold. I call upon each and every one of you to really seek inside why you are really here and what your real role and goal should be as a legislator. Members of my Republican Party, we need...
Well, hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. In response to our previous segment where I was trying to encourage people like you, the good listeners to WBAP, the good citizens of North Texas, run for office. If you've ever thought about running for, just do it. That's the number one thing that you can do as an individual to fix this whole mess. Because we gripe about what's going on in D.C. We gripe about what's going on right now in Austin. We're griping about what's going on. We gripe about what's going on at City Hall. We gripe about, well, the mayor's taking a trip to Africa, and can you believe all this? Well, get involved. Do something. And I've gotten 2 emails and a Facebook message asking the same question. How do I get started? Go to your local county. If you're a Democrat, go to the Democrats. If you're a Republican, go to the Republicans. If you're something else, I don't know, you can go sit in an empty room and stare at the wall, I guess. But that's how you get started. And if you needed any more encouragement, remember, there is a guy who not only got elected to Congress, but has been reelected 7 times after he said Guam might capsize. This is Hank Johnson.
Yeah, my fear is that the whole island will become so overly populated that it will tip over and capsize.
That guy is in Congress. That if he can get elected, you can get elected. If he can be there, you deserve to be there. And if he can get reelected 7 times after saying the dumbest thing you've definitely heard all day, maybe all week, maybe in 2025, maybe in the 20s, that might be the dumbest thing you heard. Guam could tip over. What do you think? Islands are just floating out there like a Yeti cooler? Is that what you think? You think there's just like an air mattress under? I'm like, what do you even think? How? He's in Congress. You can do it too. And look, if you're more involved, then these other stories won't bother you so much. I go to our news partners, the great WFAA, and the scuttlebutt of today is the Dallas mayor took a trip to Tanzania and the taxpayers paid for it. All right, listen to this.
Well, Mayor Eric Johnson recently traveled to Africa to establish a new sister city for Dallas, and we've learned taxpayers will foot some of the bill. Dallas City Hall reporter Cole Sullivan just obtained documents showing he flew business class to Tanzania, stayed in luxury hotels, and went on safari.
Could I interest you in a trip to this Park Hyatt in Zanzibar? What about this luxury safari camp on the Serengeti? Would it make a difference if you could fly business class?
Hang on a second. Zanzibar's a real place? I thought that was like a comic book place like Wakanda or Timbuktu. And that's a joke. I know that's a real place.
Flat seats? Now you might be wondering, how much is all of this going to cost me? Well, actually,
it's free.
You've already paid for at least part of it, assuming you're a Dallas taxpayer. These 5-star hotels, the safari camps, and the flights on Qatar Airways are all part of the $44,000 trip Dallas Mayor Eric Johnson took this summer, records show, along with 2 staff members.
All right, I want you to remember that number, $44,000. Because, I mean, that's a lot of money to me and you. But, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's piddly. In the context of Dallas, though, do you think that's a lot?
Went to Tanzania to sign a sister city agreement with its largest city, Dar es Salaam. Photos from the mayor's office show Johnson meeting with local officials there and touring a factory that makes denim jeans. But records show he traveled to other places beyond the sister city, like the island of Zanzibar, where he spent 2 nights, met with local leaders, and toured a spice farm. And this is one of 2 safari camps.
A spice farm? Is that a real thing? What is this, the movie Dune?
Records show the mayor visited. Its website says it has just 9 tents and moves based on the great migration of animals across the Serengeti. The mayor's office says his time in the region showcased another opportunity for Dallas, Tanzania tourism.
Dallas thinks of itself and has for a long time.
Oh my God. Let me just slowly, I can't sit there. Oh. I don't know how other people in journalism actually do it. I don't know how y'all can take say the silliest things with a straight face, put it on video, and then let the whole world see it. Okay, so let me give you the duality of James here. Is number one, the Dallas mayor should not be going to Tanzania. There's not a good excuse for it. Oh, it's a sister city agreement with Dar es Salaam. So what? He couldn't have done that via Zoom. He couldn't have done like an e-signature. I mean, I do that all the time, and I'm just doing a car payment. No, he doesn't need to go there. Absolutely, totally unnecessary. All these little sister city programs. I mean, it sounds nice. Do we get any benefit of it? I doubt it. Should the mayor of any city in America be spending 5 seconds worrying about who they can sister up with because they have a blue jean factory in Tanzania? Absolutely not. The other side of it is $40,000. That's it. Jesus, if y'all are upset about that, you should come sit over here by the American Airlines Center and just watch the parade of empty trains that pull up, open the doors, no one gets off, no one gets on, the doors close, the train takes off. And there's this whole Truman Show of wasted taxpayer dollars that is happening all day, every day where I'm sitting. It drives me insane. In fact, this is like my worst nightmare because I'm at the American Airlines Center. We're in the little complex there. And on one side of my studio, we have a cordoned off, concreted off, barriered with a curb bike lane going in each direction on Houston Street that never gets used, even by bikers. And on the other side of me, I have the train station with the Truman Show going on with this whole charade of just empty trains. I mean, they probably blow $40,000 in resources on empty trains every damn day. So no. Eric Johnson shouldn't be spending 1 dime of taxpayer money. I don't care if he flies first class or business class. The whole trip's a waste. He shouldn't be taking any of it. Oh, he stayed in a 5-star luxury hotel. Well, good for him. Yes, he should be spending more time on the issues here going on locally. No, I don't see any real benefit with being buddies with Dar es Salaam. But my goodness, if you people are all ginned up about wasting $40,000, you should find out about the wasteful projects that are getting thrown around in the tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars. We just had to take out another $1 billion worth of bonds last November because we couldn't afford to pay our bills, but we got money for this. What is going on? No, I'm not losing any sleep over this. Big deal. I wish he wouldn't do it. It's not a good thing. But if you want to talk about wasted resources, this isn't even in the top 100 of our concerns in Dallas when it comes to fiscal irresponsibility. Probably not in the top 1,000. Every renovated theater, every vacant office building that's being rented by the city, all the money that's just being fire hosed out on infrastructure and parks. And hell, they just did $1 million to study whether or not to put a train station downtown. The answer is no. I could have told you that for free. And y'all are worried about a $40,000 trip? You're not serious people. All right, coming up next on the James Show. How's the price of gas doing with all the stuff that's going on with Iran and Ukraine and Russia? All right, how much are you going to be paying for gas on your next road trip? You taking a trip for Labor Day? Let's find out what's going on in the oil patch and your gas prices next with R.T. Trevino from the Crude Truth podcast on the James Show. News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP.
To say that certain people are poor, certain people are damaged, we need to take over their school districts, but that was done in this body when you took away our representation, when you gave us to a congressional member who didn't have a real understanding of what we were dealing with, and when the vast majority of those counties, the other part of that county, they didn't have to come to us to ask for votes, whether they were a Democrat or Republican. What you're doing right now to poor and underrepresented counties in cities is harmful. And I get winning because we keep saying that this is about elections. But at what cost is winning everything? Is it more important for you to win and have seats knowing that you've already messed up and harmed other people in their districts? You have already helped increase crime rates in other people's districts. You've already had them underfunded when it comes to school programs. And I'm telling you this not because someone read this to me in a book. I'm telling you this because this is what you've done to my community. This gives you a reason to have people that will go out there and say racist things about Black and Latino and Hispanic people because you've created an environment that has festered with people who are living in poverty. I ask you to please vote no on this, not about politics, but about the fact that you are going to cause real harm to people, and you are going to cause harm to your own citizens by breaking up communities of interest. You are going to put people's lives at risk, and for all of you who live out in East Texas, I want you to remember this. If you live in Jasper and you're trying to get to the nearest hospital, or you live in Orange County, you're much more likely to die giving childbirth because a hospital is 40 or more miles away. And those are mainly a lot of the constituents that you all say you're creating districts for, but you've made their districts even poorer. This is what you're going to be doing to other people throughout this entire state. And it is devastating what you are doing to poor minority communities, but it's more devastating at the fact that sometimes you can hate someone so much that you will do irreparable damage to yourself. That is what you are opening yourselves up to, is that one day when the demographics shift, you will be in districts that you will not have any voting power. And it will hurt. And you will watch your children grow up and go to jail and lose educational value. And I know that because that's what you all did to my district. That's what I represent. That's who I am and where I am from. I hope you take that into accountability when you're taking your vote into play, because this has real life implications for people, and it does hurt.
Chair recognizes Mr. Rosenthal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I'm concerned that when I speak to the members of this body, I notice that many of you are not listening, and I actually don't expect you to. And I don't expect my words to affect how you act in the next few minutes. That's why today I'd like to speak to the people of Texas and the people of this country. And I want to speak out against the process that has been used to ram this gerrymandered piece of work down the throats of the people of our state. So, I'm a process person. I'm an engineer for a living. I'm particularly keen on how we do what we do. So let me start out by pointing out that the whole process for this has been a sham from the beginning. Any member in here, any leader of this state that tries to tell you that there were public hearings on this map, that is simply a lie. That is not true. So first, what we have before us today is a committee substitute that was voted out in a
Hey there. Welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker, keeping an eye on the Texas House right now. I'm just watching them. I got an extra window over here on C-SPAN Deuce, and they're doing their little public speaking bits before they vote on the maps already. So this might happen during the James Show. If it does, I'll flop over and let you know that the next battle has already been accomplished and is now behind us. My next guest, though, is going to tell us what's going on with the oil patch and the oil industry. RT Trevino is coming back on from the Crude Truth podcast and Pecos Country Energy. Welcome back, RT. Yeah, they're doing the ESPN thing where they're you start out with like C-SPAN, the big one has like usually the president or the Senate. C-SPAN 2 gets like the state guys out here, and then by the time you get down to C-SPAN Ocho, you're watching the Euless dog catcher on his lunch break. I think is what they're doing right now on C-SPAN. What? Right. Is that really a thing? Do we have dog catchers? Is that anyway? To the oil patch. That's your bit. So I guess you guys keep up with oil usage and whatnot. How has the summer driving season been? Above average, below average, above expectations? How's it lining up so far? That's politically correct. Okay. Okay. Well, what's the problem with the fact that we have all-time record production? I saw that we were like 13.6 million barrels a day, or what's the new record, RT? Okay, so do we have a peak? Would you say that there is a point where the American productive capacity would plateau off? So how is our rig count doing? Strangely, I've noticed it's kind of gone down over the last few years, but is that just because we need fewer of them, or we're allowed to drill fewer of them? Well, what's your explanation for that? Woo. All right. Well, it's a good update from the oil patch, RT. What's going on the Crude Truth podcast? Good stuff. RT Trevino, appreciate your time. You can find the Crude Truth podcast, or he's also at Pecos Country Energy. Thank you, sir. All right. So we're ducking back in here. Let's see what's going on at the Texas House. They're talking about maybe voting on the maps today. And so they're doing, this is Erin Zwiener. She's the Texas State Representative.
More industrial communities that just
You could have gotten dressed up. See, this is what I'm talking about. Run for office. You have a lady here who, look, I'm not making fun of her appearance, but I am. She didn't brush her hair. She's not wearing makeup. She's wearing a T-shirt. You don't think you could be a state rep? You don't think you could do a better job than what you're seeing on TV? I'm here to tell you, you can. There's nothing special about these people. In fact, some of them are quite a bit below average. Good Lord. All right, coming up next on the James Show. The Arlington mayor, he's rolled up in a few scandals, and usually I don't care about stuff like this, but it's kind of a lot. So I have that local update, and then we're going to get into a very ugly edition of news from Bugtussle. That's coming up on the James Show. 800-288-9227. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP.
Neighborhoods that, again, share a community, share relationships, share a grocery store, will be in different congressional districts. And members, this is particularly important because Congressional District 35 has been a performing Hispanic opportunity district. We hear a lot of promises about this new map, but you don't know performance till the map is drawn on the ground, until elections actually happen. Congressional District 35 was court-ordered to be drawn as a Hispanic opportunity district based in the I-35 corridor. And this body is about to disregard that court order and rip communities I represent apart. Remember, these maps also harm the Black community along the I-35 corridor, not just the Hispanic community. Right now, Congressional District 35 is 13.9% Black in voting age population. Now, parts of that district are going to get absorbed into Congressional District 37, Congressional District 21, and some will stay in 35. The highest Black population in any of those districts is 10%. Congressional District 21 will be just 2.53%. That means our historic Black communities in San Marcos that live along Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard are going to have no ability to link their voices with those of other constituents who share their identity and their history in order to have an influence on the electoral outcome. This map is destroying a district that has consistently been able to elevate the voices of people of color in choosing who represents them. So members, I ask you to think about the harm that's happening. Think about the districts on the ground that are being ripped apart. Think about the constituents who are going to have members of Congress who have no reason to listen to them because these maps are drawn to marginalize their voices. Members, stand up for fair representation and vote no on this map.
Mr. Speaker. Ms. Flores, for what purpose?
Will the gentlelady yield for question?
Will the lady yield for questions?
I will.
The lady yields.
Thank you, Representative Sweener. I understand your district, like mine, is within the current Congressional District 35. Is that correct?
Yes, about 70% of my district is in Congressional District 35.
And this is a strong Latino community and a strong Latino opportunity district, is it not?
Yeah, we have historic Hispanic communities all up and down the I-35 corridor, from Ulen to Kyle to San Marcos to East Austin, and of course down to San Antonio. And these are communities that, as I mentioned, share relationships. I was on the phone with my old chief of staff recently, who's old guard San Marcos, and he has cousins in East Austin and cousins in San Antonio.
Are you familiar with Del Valley in my District 51 in southeast Travis County?
I'm familiar with the community, but I don't know it as well as you do.
Well, as you might be aware, I represent two school districts. Del Valley ISD is in the community of Del Valley, and that's just east of the airport. That I'm being told by constituents, and our Senator Saffirini, is being called by constituents with concern that their school district is being split between two congressional districts. Their own school district is now going to be split between two different congressional districts. Are you aware of that?
I wasn't aware of the specifics of Del Valley, but we're seeing those same concerns. San Marcos CISD is going to be split between two different districts, and even the attendance zones for some elementary schools are going to be divided between two districts. It doesn't make a lick of sense.
And that community is a big Hispanic community, and those students in that school district are going to be torn apart. It's a community of interest, and they're going to be, no longer be able to share a congressional representative. Don't you find that really troubling?
I find it incredibly troubling, and I was looking over the map, using some of the tools we have to look at the population, the Hispanic population in particular in that area. And when you're east of 35, I-35 in either Travis County or Hays County, there is almost always, with a couple exceptions, a Hispanic plurality, and in most cases, a Hispanic majority. Those constituents should have the right to band together and elect the candidate of their choice, just like they can in the current Congressional District 35.
Well, thank you, Representative Sweener, for standing up for your constituents, for standing up for my constituents that are within that congressional district.
And I also join you in urging everybody to vote no against this map. Thank you. Thank you so much, Representative Flores. Members, the facts are clear. This map is going to rip apart performing minority opportunity districts. And the harm in my community it's going to be immense. So I urge you to vote no and keep these connected communities of interest along I-35 together in Congressional District 35. Please vote no.
Chair recognizes Ms. Garcia Hernandez.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I rise today in strong opposition to House Bill 4. This proposal disenfranchises millions of Texans, families, communities, and neighborhoods across our state, including those I represent in House District 115, and even myself. Under this plan, congressional districts 32 and 33 are radically redrawn to deprive Texans of fair representation. District 32, my own district, is an egregious example in North Texas. It forces together suburban communities like Farmers Branch, where I live, with rural communities as far as Pittsburgh and Gilmer in East Texas. These districts are neither compact nor true communities of interest. Instead, District 32 has been carved into a 175-mile fajita strip that dilutes and disenfranchises voters. District 33 is yet another case. Today, it connects Latino communities in Dallas and Fort Worth, ensuring their voices are heard. But under this new map, it is configured to Dallas County alone. That deliberate change strips representation not only from my constituents in House District 115, but also from the people of Tarrant County. The result? Over 1 million Latinos in North Texas are left without meaningful congressional representation. Their voices are silenced. This is targeted exclusion, plain and simple, driven not by the needs of Texans, but by out-of-state political interests. It is a sad day for this chamber and for Texas when we put the whims of DC bosses above the needs of Texans who are truly suffering right now, like our families in the Hill Country, still grieving their losses and struggling to rebuild their lives, and promised by our own leadership to be put first as HB1. I was so moved by history growing up, learning about the Underground Railroad, Nazi Germany, and so many other painfully immoral times our world has experienced. Asking myself if I would have just stood by, too scared to say anything, or if I would have met the moment in recognizing that our lives, each and every one of us, 150 members, our lives, our impact can turn the tide, stop the hurt, and heal others as well as raised. I am sure how so many of you were as well. To recognize our obligation to speak and fight for those who are most vulnerable, to speak up against injustice, and to have courage whenever everyone around you seems to be too scared to do what is right. Members, I implore you, my colleagues, I implore you to have courage. What we are doing today is unjust, it is un-Texan, and it is un-American. All eyes are on Texas. All eyes are
Members, choices are at the heart of what we do. We choose what bills that we file.
Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Hey, you want to stay put because we are having Ken Paxton, the Attorney General of the great state of Texas, on around 4:15-ish, which really means 4:18 in James time. So if you can't stick around for that, if you're just in the car for 20 minutes until you get to where you're going, come back and check it out on the podcast. It should be pretty awesome. Because I'm going to ask him if Beto O'Rourke could end up in jail or charged with something. Because I heard him in another interview earlier today saying, yeah, it looks like he's broken the law. Okay, can we start arresting people? I will get an answer for you at 4:18. Okay, maybe like 4:19-ish. Also, I have one eye on what's going on in Austin right now at the Texas State Legislature. The House is running their mouth where everyone gets a couple minutes to talk. And then I think we're going to get a vote on the redistricting bill or the redistricting map. And it might happen before the end of the show. So I'm keeping it on. There's a C-SPAN, I think 22 over here. And let's just drop in on this too.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, choices are at the heart of what we do. We choose what bills that we file, choose how we vote on legislation, choose what committees we want to be on. Today is a choice. We do
This is Mary Gonzalez from District 75, by the way.
not have to be doing this. And this is a critical moment in our history, just like my colleague just said.
It's not critical.
Recently, I went to a classroom in my district, and as an educator, going to a classroom is one of the most joyful experiences that I do as a legislator. And while I was having uplifting conversations, a part of my heart broke. Because through the dialogue, I realized just how many young people are disenchanted with politics and elected officials, have very real concerns about the future of democracy, our state, and our country, are worried about the needs of their families and friends. This is what we should be focused on. Their needs, their future, the leadership that they are pleading for. What they need to see is leadership that, like Representative Barbara Gerben Hawkins said, was brave and demonstrated the utmost political courage.
These people really, they love themselves. That's the problem with the democratic process. It attracts people who just love hearing their own voice. They think they're saving the world. They think they're so important, have so much purpose. This is why we're fighting for the... No, you're not. You're fighting a map, lady. You're fighting for the well-being of your political party. This doesn't change anyone's life better or worse on the ground in your district or in any other district in Texas. This only negatively affects your political party. Stuff it. See, one of the running threads, if you're just joining us on the show, one of the running threads is I'm trying to convince you should run for office. You would be better than these guys. We had the story earlier about the Dallas mayor who went to Tanzania for a sister city trip and spent $40,000 of taxpayer money on a luxury vacation. You could do that. You could do that. In fact, I don't mind if they take trips or whatever. How are they running the city? Do we have a balanced budget? Do we have enough police officers? Do we have the ability to lower taxes? Can we cut taxes? How are you governing? Because if a guy is going to govern a city and destroy it, I don't care if he doesn't take any trips, or if he does or doesn't take any trips. I don't like that guy. And if the guy's going to run the city well and he's going to take a couple trips, I don't care. And then let's go over to what's happening in Arlington right now. Their mayor is really going through it. I played this audio that we picked up. Who was that? That was the Dallas Express that had this exclusive here. And in that one, someone resurfaced an old clip of him from the Southern Decadence Festival, which is sort of like the gay Super Bowl that happens in New Orleans every year on, I think it's Labor Day weekend. And he's cussing out a street preacher. Now, it's ugly. I don't like to hear it. I had to edit it all to heck. But he has a lot of problems on top of just this ugly audio here.
You do. Not gonna happen, you punk. You don't think it's good, do you?
No, it's not the purpose.
Have you ever your old lady in the...
Who would do that?
I'll your old lady.
Here with him.
Yeah, so he's cussing out a street preacher, stupid Christians, and threatening to do horrible things to his wife. And this is the Arlington mayor. First of all, why are you going to Decadence Fest? Why you made a special trip down there for what reason? Heterosexual married guy. That's not the norm. I'm not saying, look, that's necessarily he did anything wrong. That's just not the norm of people who make a trip and drive 8 hours to go to Decadence. Trust me, I lived in New Orleans for a while. So let's add that again. If he does all that and he runs the city fine, I'm willing to overlook that. But right now, there's a new budget proposal for my listeners in Arlington. Listen up. They're calling for a 3% property tax hike on you right now. And they just might get it because there's a big shortfall in their budget, and they've got to fill it somehow. So this increase would generate, they're estimating about $11 million in revenue. But there's a $25 million budget shortfall, so they're going to have to make some other cuts. So Arlington's having a hard time. And if you think, well, that's just the way it's going, a lot of people are having a hard time. No, Arlington over there in Tarrant County is faced with the same world that Tarrant County's living in, and they are proposing to lower their property taxes. The Fort Worth city manager has proposed lowering Fort Worth's property tax rate to 67 cents per $100 in value. This is according to a report from WFAA. Dallas city manager Kim Tolbert proposed reducing this city's rate. Again, according to the Fort Worth report in WFAA. So no, that's not the norm, tax increases. He's not doing a good job. And he's cussing out street preachers. And on top of all that, the IRS is garnishing his wages, according to Dallas Express. They're reporting, and I hadn't seen anyone else report this yet, but I'll dig some more and maybe update the record a little tomorrow. But the Dallas Express reported the IRS is garnishing his wages to collect more than $174,000 in unpaid federal taxes. Dude, did you even have $174,000 in a reportable income? That's a lot of money. That's like a
billion, million, 400 trillion, 600 billion dollars.
All right. So yeah, you know what? Run for office. You could do better than that. Trust me, you could do better than that. Coming up next, a terrible edition of News from Bugtussle, where we have a pervert, and I'm just asking, can we make the wood chipper an official legal punishment for these people? Terrible news coming up next on The James Show. News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP.
Cracking and packing. Cracking and packing. It's the classic Texas Republican two-step when it comes to discriminating against Black, Hispanic, and other minority Texans. You crack and pack minority neighborhoods to dilute their voices and give outsized influence to Anglo communities, even though you know full well that Texans of color accounted for 95% of our state's population growth in the last decade. Your cracking and packing two-step is evident in many parts of the state in this map. I'm going to focus now just on my home county of Tarrant County. Tarrant County is a majority minority county of more than 2 million people. Tarrant County saw extensive growth in the last decade. All, I repeat, all because of people of color. In fact, Tarrant County's white population decreased in the last decade. But you wouldn't know that in looking at this discriminatory map. As you've already heard, this map fails to create a new Latino opportunity district in the Dallas-Fort Worth region, which is a tremendous failure because there should be one. But not only do we have that failure, this map cracks heavily Black and Hispanic neighborhoods in Fort Worth out of Congressional District 33, the district they have been united in since 2012. So let me talk about how you've accomplished the cracking. Some of those neighborhoods are submerged into CD 25, which sprawls out more than 100 miles nearly to Abilene. Rural Anglo voters will now control the outcome of their congressional election, canceling their voices. The rest of those CD 33 precincts are splintered and used for parts in CD 12, once again controlled by Anglo voters in West Fort Worth and Parker counties. By the way, let me remind the House, if you've forgotten, how CD 33 came to be. In 2011, the legislature, in passing its congressional map that year, did the exact same thing that this map does. They took heavily minority neighborhoods in Tarrant County and submerged them into white-controlled districts, suburban and rural districts, until a federal court stepped in and called it what it was: intentional racial discrimination that is against the law. Now, if you've heard this before, and if you're on the House Redistricting Committee like I am, it's because Congressman Vesey explained this to you a couple of weeks ago in our hearing, but you ignored it. Now, this legislature is poised to defy that court ruling from 2011 and repeat the same discriminatory sin. So that's the cracking, or an example of it. Let's talk about the packing. So most of my majority-minority House District 101 will be packed into CD 30, a historic Dallas-based district where black voters have elected the candidate of their choice since that district's creation in 1991. In other words, you don't need to pack more minority voters into that district unless, of course, your goal is to cynically dilute their collective voting strength. But the intentional discrimination doesn't even stop there. As Congresswoman Crockett testified in the House committee hearing a few weeks ago, you've removed key economic engines from CD 30, like Love Field in downtown Dallas.
Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Welcome to the big show. Well, usually, not always, but usually when I do a Bugtussle news update, it's fun stuff. This one's not going to be a fun stuff. Bugtussle is shook by this news. This is all my hometown's talking about out in East Texas. I mean, they're putting a new hitching post in the town square right now. New water and trough, everything. It's going to be awesome. But there's nothing funny about this next story. And this happened in my backyard. You know, I brag about Bugtussle being Pleasantville. You know, you don't have to lock your doors. You don't have to lock your car. There's no crime. Nothing's locked up at the drugstore. Property taxes are low. But I guess even we're not immune out in the God's country to absolute freaks. Listen to this one.
Tonight, arrest documents detail a long history of 45-year-old Wesley Worrell. This man, who Tyler police say last month exposed himself to two girls who were riding bikes in their neighborhood along Fry Avenue.
That really does disturb me.
Cruz Fry says the street is named after his uncle. He's lived out here for
about 28 years.
We were the first to tell him about the shocking incident that Tyler police say happened just feet from his home.
That's about the wildest thing I've ever heard.
Police say Worrell followed the girls for some time before stopping in the parking lot of Andy Woods Elementary. Then say he got out of his car wearing only a diaper and with a pacifier in his mouth began to mouth goo goo gaga at the two children and proceeded to tell them he needed his diaper changed. Officers say the girls quickly rode away on their bicycles to tell mom and dad.
And then parents obviously called the police on him.
Yeah, okay, so as it stands now, you know this story in a vacuum. You don't know his past. You don't know what he's been through. You know, maybe he's a victim of abuse, or maybe he was doing a TikTok challenge, or maybe there's a good explanation for this. Oh, hell no. Hell no, there's not a good explanation for this. Just from what you hear. This guy should die, right? This guy, this is his bit. He puts on only a diaper And what's with the pacifier? And then he goes after little girls that are like 11, 12. And look, you're not familiar with Bugtussle, but this is happening in a great neighborhood. This is not a bad neighborhood. In fact, Miss Parker, this is right next to Pollard Theater.
Hi, Miss Parker.
Now wait till you hear his backstory. It gets even worse.
What happened in this neighborhood is not the first time Worrell has been accused or charged of behavior like this. KLTV News obtained arrest records that detail several similar incidents and accusations of voyeurism, criminal trespassing, and exposure charges that include Worrell wearing a diaper, some dating back to 1999.
That's what he likes to do.
What?
Is come out in diapers.
In 2007, Worrell was sentenced to 7 years in prison for exposing himself to an 8-year-old girl at a church. And most recently, just weeks before the incident on Fry Avenue, police say Worrell went to several Walmarts around Tyler, following women and children with his hands inside his shorts. When police questioned him, Worrell says he was checking to see if he had soiled his diaper.
All right, I got the solution for this guy. It's real easy. I'm sorry. Die. You die now. You no longer get to share oxygen with the rest of Earth. Holy crap. How many times does this guy have to do this? And it's worse than what they actually put on TV. They told you about 3 big ones, but there's more of a paper trail behind this guy than just that. And why isn't he dead yet? Why is this guy allowed to walk on Earth and share it with us? This is a chilling story. I don't know where this comes from. Like, I don't understand people who are into feet, like you foot fetish guys. What's into that? What is your deal? You're into kids? Gross. But then you're adding the diaper, the goo goo gaga, the pacifier, and you're rolling that in with kids? Good God. You know, I thought about, before doing this segment, telling people, if you have kids in the car, you might want to turn the channel. Kids need to hear this. Most adults are fine. Most people that you come across in this mortal coil are going to be decent human beings. And while they may not love you or want to have your best interest, they're at least at worst indifferent toward you. But you need to be reminded that there are some real sickos out there. And I don't want to scare you, so you're afraid to go outside, or you're afraid to go into the grocery store, or you're afraid to walk through a parking lot by yourself. But even if it's 1 out of 1,000,000, even if it's 1 out of 10,000, you need to go ahead and conduct your life like these people do exist. Don't let it ruin your life. Again, gentle balance here. But this guy has issues going back to 1999. Went to prison again in 2000, and there was some other mix-ups with the law and the 20 teens, and then earlier this year. How are guys like this on the street? You and I know why. Because we don't lock them up and keep them there. Shouldn't this behavior be enough of an excuse to at least lock this guy up for life? My preference would be to line him up against the wall and just shoot him. Just old school, you're done. You're done. It's like a rabid dog. He can't be fixed. He's only going to harm other people. He serves no purpose to the universe. Time to take him out. Leaving him alive is only a net negative. We've got to take this fella out. He can't be rehabbed. He's not going to be fixed. He's going to keep doing it. And what does it have to happen to one of your kids before you do something? I swear to God, don't do that to my kid. There's a lot of people in Texas. There's a lot of people, especially out in Bugtussle. And I imagine there's a lot of fathers here in the big city that feel the same way. You do that to my kid, you better hope to God the cops find you before I do. Because I'll make damn sure you never do this again. This guy should be dead. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. What do you think? Death penalty for diaper guy? I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Oh, don't clap. We're in a terrible story. It's an update from Bugtussle, and usually my little Bugtussle news segments are something cute. You know, milk cow got her foot caught in a cattle guard. Y'all even know what a cattle... Wait a second. Garrett, if I say cattle guard, do you know what that is? You know what a cattle guard is? What do you think it is? No, it is not a thing that cattle wear on their heads. No. Cattle guard is that row of bars you have at the front of your driveway so the cows can't leave the yard. Yeah, it's not as common. What are you, Burleson? Y'all should know what cattle guards are in Burleson. Okay. Well, usually it's fun stuff. I wish I was telling you fun stuff like that. But in this one, we have a guy who clearly has some mental problems and was being a predator to children. If you're just joining us, I'll play the disturbing 20 seconds real quick from the Bugtussle News outlet in Tyler.
Police say Worrell followed the girls for some time before stopping in the parking lot of Andy Woods Elementary. Then say he got out of his car wearing only a diaper and with a pacifier in his mouth began to mouth goo goo gaga at the two children and proceeded to tell them he needed his diaper changed. Officers say the girls quickly rode away on their bicycles to tell mom and dad.
And then parents obviously called the police on it.
Yeah, and so why aren't we killing this guy? That's the reaction we should have. And let me point something out. Ladies, you win this one, okay? In the battle of the sexes and who's a better boxer or who's a better sprinter or athlete or who's a better swimmer. Y'all get credit for this one. Why is it only dudes who are this awful? Women are never this bad when it comes to, being a predator, a sexual predator. Women never approach children in a diaper. Women don't have a foot fetish. Have you ever met a woman with a foot fetish? You ever met a woman who, hey, man, let me tell you this. Even being a public figure, no woman has ever approached me and asked to see pictures of my feet. I'm not sure most women can say that. Women don't hide toilet cameras in men's rooms. Women aren't peeking in windows when I'm trying to change and get ready in the morning, as much as I wish they would. Ha, ha, ha. Jokes aside. Man, something's just wrong with people. They can't be fixed. They need to die. 800-288-9227. John, Nolanville, you're on WBAP. What do we do about this guy?
Well, I hate to break it to you. Clearly, the guy's got a mental issue, right? But if you take the plan of action that you propose, you're going to get in trouble with the law. And I understand the whole short rope, tall tree concept. Trust me. But he hasn't killed anybody, so self-defense is not authorized, and that's the issue. If you don't like the laws, you got to get them changed. Me, where I come from, we get a bunch of good old boys and get them behind the woodshed. Every time he does what he does, he's behind the woodshed, right? If you can get away with that. But when you're taking, when you're going vigilante, then you need an attorney.
Well, let's make it official then. Then fine, let's pass the law that says you do the goo goo gaga thing to an 11-year-old at the park and you're eligible for the death penalty. I don't care if we have to do due process. It doesn't have to be a lynch mob with a short rope and a tall tree. We can, make him go through the legal system and just give him an injection in the arm in Huntsville like we do for all the other evil people. I'm just saying we need to graduate the level of severity we treat this crime with murder.
Well, then that needs to be put on a referendum.
Agreed.
And that needs to be brought up. There you go.
Yeah, I think we agree on everything here. Yeah, I don't mind making it legal, and I'm not advocating for vigilante justice. But bro, I think you probably sound like you know about the guy in Shreveport when they were bringing the dude through the airport that abused his son. He pretended to be on the payphone. This was in like the 80s or something. Do you remember this? And they caught it on. They caught it on video. The Shreveport TV station was there doing the little perp walk when they were taking him through the airport. And you see some guy in a trucker hat just hunched over a payphone. He turns around and it's the guy's father, and he just boom ends his life right there in the airport in front of God and everybody. Yeah, a few more of those, and not only do we punish the guys who have committed these crimes, but what a huge disincentive it would be for future guys who are thinking about this. Hey man, you need to get your rocks off by doing all this weird
I
stuff.
gotta ask you.
Go ahead.
So I'm the kind of guy where if I see that car on TV and I'm like, oh, wow, it's a green Hyundai Elantra or it's a red Kia Rio, and I see that car in 18 months, there might be a reason why my brush guard on the front of my truck kind of bumps into him. You know, I might be that guy that hits him with the shopping cart in Walmart and says, "Oh, you assaulted me. I'm going to fix your wagon now, guy." You know, that's my issue, and I'm wondering if that's out of whack, because I don't let stuff like that go, especially when you're talking about little kids. You get your face on TV, and I'm around 5, 10, 50, like you just did with the guy in Shreveport. What are you going to do when they let that guy out and he's walking the streets when you're on vacation somewhere in El Paso, or you go up to Wichita Falls and you're like, you know what? That's the clown, you know. I don't know. I don't know if that course of action is something just I'm dealing with or not.
No, I'm with you, John. Now listen, here is the follow-up to the hero, the legend. His name's Gary Plauché. Now this happened in Louisiana. He publicly killed Jeffrey Doucette in 1984, in March of 1984. Now, he did immediately get arrested. He was charged. He went to trial. He was found guilty, but given a 7-year suspended sentence, 300 hours of community service, and ultimately no prison time. All right, neighbors in Louisiana, you got that one right. I want to see more of this. I want to see more Leon Gary Plauchés. I want to see more heroes. I mean, it's terrible what happened to his son, but the man left a legacy that I think we should be mimicking this more. Not only because it's just, because it would disincentivize child abuse in the future. Coming up next, it's going to be a killer segment with Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. I'm asking him a very important question. Could Beto go to jail? Find out next. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker, and my next guest coming back on the James Show, the great Attorney General from Texas, Ken Paxton. Welcome back to the James Show. A lot of eyes on Texas, a lot of eyes on you in the headlines today. And did I just see, I was watching on C-SPAN 2, the Texas House was in session, and they were giving their little public statements about how evil and racist and terrible the redistricting maps were. I thought we were going to get a vote today, and then they just cut off the feed. Did they adjourn until tomorrow? Do you know? Yeah. Beto. Yeah. Oh, that's my second question in the notes. Yeah, so that very well may be the cause of them to return. I mean, I assume they were going to return and in the theater at some point anyway, but all right. Now, I heard you telling some of my friends this morning on a different radio show that Beto could be rolled up in charges on this. And some of this I didn't understand. Like, what's the difference between raising money for political purposes and raising money in the way he's spending it now? But there seems to be an element of fraud that could be pursued. That seems interesting. So, could Beto go to jail actually, or just be slapped with some charges and be run through the mud? Or he married into a billionaire family. All right, we're talking with Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, and something else I learned. What is this Kellogg's agreement? I think a lot of people don't know about this, and they'd be happy to know what you did here. All right. So, how are you getting credit for that? Why is that your job? Even to you're a state AG. How come it's you doing this? Well, Ken Paxton, in addition to being the Texas State Attorney General, you're also running for senator right now. And I saw that for the entire time that we've been doing polls on this, you've been way, way ahead. And then some poll comes out to where it's close. And that seems a little fishy to me. Did you do something really unpopular I'm not aware of? I don't know. You might get 29% of the baristas at Starbucks. Well, if you're on the fence here and you want a little more assurance that Ken Paxton would be a better guy than Senator John Cornyn, just go to the Dallas Morning News. They hate Ken Paxton, and that ought to settle it for you here. They just put out an article a couple days ago because you threatened Beto O'Rourke with, possible jail time for exercising his, I don't know, financial freedom or whatever the excuse was. So if the Dallas Morning News is against you, I think that's a pretty good sign. All right, fun stuff. Get back to work. Go make some more history and trials and agreements and whatever, and I'll keep having you back on the show, sir. All right, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton on the James Show yet again. Love having him on. Coming up on the James Show, well, you know what? Let me revisit some of the feedback I've been getting on the diaper creep. I was going to move on, but I've gotten a couple of really good emails and Facebook messages that I think would fill out the story. More coming up. Parents, people with grandkids, you might want to listen. There's creepers out there and they want to get to your kids. Details on the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. This segment is going to be full of feedback about a previous segment. If you're just joining us, I can do a quick summary for you here. We did an update from Bugtussle, and sometimes we do Bugtussle news, and it's funny. You know, someone tried to steal a backhoe, or someone got arrested for, I don't know, riding a horse while intoxicated, or I don't know. It's usually fun stuff. This one, not fun. We had one of these weird perverts, and it's always a guy, isn't it? It's always a guy with a foot fetish or hiding a camera in a locker room or peeping in your windows. In this one, it was a guy in my hometown or close to it, nearest town to the field of hay that I grew up in. I can't even believe people like this exist. He's a diaper guy.
Police say Worrell followed the girls for some time before stopping in the parking lot of Andy Woods Elementary. Then say he got out of his car wearing only a diaper and with a pacifier in his mouth began to mouth goo goo gaga at the two children and proceeded to tell them he needed his diaper changed.
Yeah, he needs a bullet in the head is what I think he needs. He's somewhere. What about your temple? Will that work? What makes it worse is not only this not the first time, this is about the baker's dozenth offense.
But what happened in this neighborhood is not the first time Worrell has been accused or charged of behavior like this. KLTV News obtained arrest records that detail several similar incidents and accusations of voyeurism, criminal trespassing, and exposure charges that include Worrell wearing a diaper, some dating back to 1999.
That's what he likes to do is come out in diapers.
In 2007, Worrell was sentenced to 7 years in prison for exposing himself.
Let me go ahead and read some of this because they skip some of the record here. In 1999, he was in trouble. He was doing lewd things while watching children at a daycare. In April of 2002, he was looking in apartment windows, also watching children while doing something lewd. April 2005, stalking his ex-girlfriend. At least she was an adult. August 2005, watching a woman near a pool, giving a criminal trespass, also, whipping it. He got in trouble again in November of 2005. In July of 2006, he went to jail, got out, got in trouble again, 2012. Got arrested again, 2016. Got arrested in July of 2025 doing this thing at a Walmart. And then just got arrested again for doing this diaper thing. This guy should go in the wood chipper. We should have something, and I'm not saying we need to do vigilante justice and we need to go get a rope. But our law should be set up that people like this are either executed, my preference, or at least locked up. And I mean locked up for good. So now that you're all caught up, some of the response here, kind of flesh out this story a little bit. I can come up with a better word. Kind of fill out this story a little bit. Katina wrote an email, said, I cannot find it. How old is Diaper Man? Oh, it's up here in the story. Let me see. Scroll up. He is 46 years old. Yeah, he's about my age. And damn it, I know I look generic, but he kind of looks like me if I had a receding hairline and I didn't exercise. Yeah, I hate it. I hate looking this generic because I look like so many of these evil criminals. Please do not associate us. So that answers Katina. Rick in Past Christiane says, James, I remember when if a man had this happen to his kids, his friends would take care of it and the police would go through the motions. Everybody understood the inadequacy of the legal system to deal with subhuman behavior. I like calling it subhuman behavior because once you behave like this, you do not deserve your full complement of rights as a normal human. You are subhuman. You are less than the rest of us. You're a child predator. No, you are worse than the rest of us. But he says, execution, don't know. Life in Alligator Alcatraz without any privileges or parole, except to Lucifer would work too. You're not expecting to dissuade another subhuman by an execution with all the publicity, correct? If it happens, that's great, but it's lanyap. I don't know. I kind of like the execution. I want them to be public. I think it would have some sort of, it would dissuade not all of them, but some of them. Lawrence, who spells his name funny, sent me an email, said, if there is no doubt they committed a crime against a child, cut their balls off. And I don't think he means that as a flippant, let's just do a Byzantine torture and cut it. No, actually, let's talk about that. What if we did? What if that was part of the process? Or what if we made it voluntary? It's like, hey, listen, you can either go to jail for the rest of your life and never see the outside of a prison again, or maybe you can have that cut off and we'll give you another shot. Would that stop it? Does that reduce the recidivism? I need to see data, because if you show me like, hey, after we cut their junk off, we let them back out and they didn't do this again, maybe the problem is the junk. Maybe you get rid of the junk, then kids stop being abused. I would really be interested to know the real answer to that question and not just let's cut it off. Brandon said, I need to get a diaper and go sit at that park. Oh, he's going to bait him. Brandon's going to be the bait diaper guy. I need to get a diaper and go sit at that park when he comes out, run up to him acting like I am interested in him. It'd probably blow his mind. Oh, another one like me? He says, I would creep him out and then take him on a road trip to the backwoods outside of DeRidder, Louisiana, and drop him off for gator food. That was awfully specific. Mr. Crowley says, up against the wall is too quick. I guess he means the firing squad. He said, feed the piranhas at Dallas Aquarium or the sharks off Port Aransas. We don't have to torture him. We can just do a regular old execution. The point isn't to make him suffer and feel as much, purified by pain. The point is to let everyone else see this is what happens when you diddle kids. So don't diddle kids. Come up with some other, get a doll. I don't know what you have to do to get your jollies off. I don't know. I don't even understand people that complain about vanilla sex. It's like, what's wrong with regular sex? Is vanilla to you? I'm sorry. I don't need to wear a diaper to get my jollies. I don't need to get my foot caught in a bear trap or have 12 people in the room or any of this other weird stuff. Maybe if vanilla sex isn't doing it for you, maybe you're doing it wrong. It works for me every time. David said in an email, put him in a general population in prison. Case solved. Well, I know, because the thought process is the general population would treat him terribly and that's what he deserves. But David, he already went to prison. That didn't work. So yeah, we're going to have to come up with something else. All right, more feedback on the diaper weirdo from Bugtussle coming up on the James Show. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. What's up, sports fans? James Parker here for the Prize Picks app, and we are just days away from real football. I'm not a big fan of preseason, but you know what? Prize Picks is so good, it can actually make preseason watchable. And they're doing some of the specials that they were doing during the regular season last year, where they give you, I don't want to say it's a free square, but it's the max discount you can possibly get. Dak Prescott, 0.5 yards. Will he get more or less than that? And remember, Prize Picks does a thing where if your guy gets hurt, they don't count it against you. So unless Dak Prescott goes out there and just throws everything straight into the dirt, you're going to get that one. You're going to get that lineup. That part of your lineup is going to win. And so now all you need is one more person. You have a lineup. So if you use the max discount squares, look, your other one, there's a max discount square for Avery Johnson. Yeah, 0.5 passing yards. He's playing Saturday against ISU. You don't know who that is? Go look it up. Go take advantage of the max discount squares and make a lineup that's so dang easy that you will love watching preseason. You won't tolerate preseason. You will love watching preseason. Hey, there's some games that are happening tomorrow. Steelers versus Panthers, Patriots versus Giants. We got the Cowboys that are playing the Falcons on Friday. And if you're new to the game, You can play with some of our money, get it figured out so you don't have to worry about, oh, well, I don't want to just sit there and run into a bandsaw until I figure it out. No, download the Prize Picks app today. Use promo code WBAP, and you will get $50 in promo cash to use on your lineups with your first $5 play. So download Prize Picks, use promo code WBAP, get $50 to play with your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Hey there. Welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Look, I get it. Look, because I have emotional reaction when I hear stories this horrific, too. If you're just joining us there in news from Bugtussle in my hometown, they are buzzing. The biggest story in town is about this guy who was wearing a diaper and accosted some little girls at a park. And the problem we all have with this is this dude has like 8 priors. This guy should have been locked up 7 times before this happened. And what the heck are we doing with the criminal justice system if guys like this aren't getting locked up for good? What's the point? And so, I understand, we should feed him to the piranhas at the Dallas Aquarium. That's funny. That would make you feel better. But that's not anything that's going to be incorporated into, Texas jurisprudence. But some of these that kind of sound like jokes, I do take serious. We should cut his balls off. Well, maybe we should. Would that fix him? Would there be less recidivism? Is that cruel and unusual? I don't think so, but I'm just asking for solutions because what we're doing now, this is not acceptable. If you're one of these diaper guys, I think that's a pretty clear sign that you're never going to be fixed, sir. Kevin, Waco, you're on WBAP. You got a fix for diaper guy?
Well, no, James, I tell you, you're describing a mental issue for this guy, not a criminal problem. You know, the goo gaga, I need my diapers changed. There's nothing criminal involved there. Now, if he exposed himself, that would be. But just saying goo goo gaga, I need my diapers changed, that's a mental problem. That's not a criminal act. And there is no money available in the justice system for mental problems. My sister is bipolar, and I am talking from experience. You cannot get them any help, period.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying in that. And so if we do take your road, then I guess the solution would be we need to open back up the state clinics like they were until, when did they change that? It was before I was born, I guess, 60s, 70s. I remember they had like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and that was kind of the scene I'm thinking of. And from what I understand, we've really diminished the state's role in that. And if we ramped it back up to where it was in previous generations, maybe this guy would be in one of those mental hospitals instead of the accosting kiddos. Now, there's a couple of things where I think this is criminal in the fact, not just a mental problem. If you're sexually harassing people, well, now it is someone else's problem. If you're doing this to children.
Well, that's criminal.
Yeah, that's criminal. And it's not necessarily the diaper. Because, look, if you want me to be a little bit softy on the diaper crowd, you're right. I don't have any problems with a guy who has a diaper fetish. But if he keeps it to the active participants are only consenting adults and not random people in a Tyler Walmart or some poor girls that are at the park next to the elementary school, then, hey, whatever it takes all kinds, to each his own. But yeah, I think it does become more than just a mental problem whenever he's doing this public stalking and exposing himself. But I hear what you're saying, though.
But tell me what the statute is. What's the statute? What are they going to charge him with? I mean, if he
obscenities,
public criminal, they got nothing to charge him with.
Stalking, harassment, public lewdness. When you do suggestive things like that with kids, if you're burping the worm in front of a kid, even if it's not exposed, even if it's just your hands in your pants. I think we already have statutes for that, but I'm not really qualified to answer your question with any depth. So I've kind of failed you there, Kevin. This is Ken in Arlington. What do we do about the diaper creep, Ken?
Hey, James, when you first started talking about this, I thought maybe Biden moved to Bugtussle.
Biden did? I see what you're saying there. Was that it?
No, I mean, all this weirdness started when the mental institutions closed down because somebody felt sympathy because of the people that were locked up. Next, you're going to have all the prisons are going to close down because somebody feels bad for the prisoners. You can't have that.
Man, isn't that the truth? All right, Ken, good joke and a good follow-up point. Solid call. Thank you, sir. This is going to be Kenneth in Dallas. You got the last word, and we only got like 30 seconds, so make it good.
Hi, James. The issue you're speaking upon, I spent time at the Goree unit in Huntsville, and Goree is a sex offender unit.
Ew.
Okay, I'm not a sex offender. I didn't work there.
We believe you. You don't have to explain yourself. Just get to your point. We're running out of time.
Okay, but there was two guys there. They were the two most notorious sex offenders in the state of Texas, and one of them had what you call orchiectomy. That's where they shoot a solution into your scrotum, and it dissolves your gonads.
Okay. Did it work?
Yeah. No, he got out and reoffended real quick.
Jesus Christ. So you can't even cut their junk off. Well, thank you for that inside information. Scratch that off the list. I guess we just have to kill him, right? Death penalty? Lock him up forever? All right, maybe the piranhas at the Dallas World Aquarium. I'm open to that. Thank you very much for listening to the James Show today. Stick around. Mark Levin's coming up next. In the meantime, if you need more James Show action, go check out the podcast, WBAP.com, and the WBAP app. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP.